to I Am Foreman's Scrapyard. I am your host, the Haim Game, and I have here my co-host, Max.
Hey.
And also our other co-host, Carl. Carl, you meant to say hello?
Oh, am I meant to say my name? Oh, okay. Oh yeah, no, Carl, I guess.
Yeah. And so, like, the main, like, purpose of this whole sort of journey in the Scrapyard is to turn Carl into a Doctor Who fan, because he's not really. Today we're going to be looking at Vincent and the Doctor, Series 5, Episode 10. But before we get into that, Carl, could you sort of talk about your experiences with the show a little bit? And
Wait, my experiences in total?
Yeah, and sort of what your sort of, some of your problems with it are, if sort of any, or if it's just sort of...
problems with the show. Alright. Well, the main thing is, I know how active the, like, fan base is, mainly because I've been subjected to you two. But it's just, it's a sci-fi show that is very
British. Always sci-fi though.
It's sci-fi.
Sometimes it's dramatic, sometimes it's historical. Anyway, I'll let you talk.
Historic. It gets the historic stuff wrong.
Anyway, just keep going with your Yeah.
Look. So when it's the show is fine. It's not a bad show. But it's so hyped up that it's put on this pedestal that when you look at it when it's on the pedestal, it does not deserve to be there. It does not deserve to be as good as it's been said to be, at least in my view. That's really what I had to say about the series. I mean, I watched a bit of season 11. And the newest season, I watched like the first 2 episodes.
Spyfall.
What's Spyfall?
That's the first 2 episodes.
Okay. I don't know. I watched up to Rosa Parks. No, Indian Partition.
Demons of the Punjab.
That, okay, sure. Yeah,
that's what the episode's called. And what have you watched from before that?
I mean, I've been showed a ton of clips by you two. But
you haven't actually watched a season or that many episodes from before Series 11?
Oh, God, no.
Okay.
I am judgmental on quality.
Yeah, Doctor Who fans are a bit judgmental on quality as of late.
Yeah, but like video quality.
Oh, like pixels.
That's video.
The 2015 film starring Adam Sandler.
Okay, yeah. So, do we just want to get into Vincent and the Doctor now?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Okay, so let's just start off with Carl. What did you think?
So we're not going to go over what happened?
We can.
Should
we go over what happened first, or do you want to?
Yeah, and then when we go to the plot, we can talk about little things.
Yeah, okay, and then we'll have a out of 10 at the end.
Yeah. Also, I think at the end we should add it to each of us should have an individual ranking.
I've made up a sort of slide.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
So basically, we start off in a field. Vincent van Gogh's like painting some stuff. The cinematography is, quite frankly, very good for Doctor Who. It's quite good. And then once you sort of pull back and see the painting which he's been doing, then like Bill Nye's character walks in front of it, and it's like a really cool transition into the art gallery.
Yeah, I like how Richard Curtis brought Bill Nye with him.
Yeah.
To Doctor Who.
Richard Curtis, for those who don't know, wrote Love Actually and the film from last year, Yesterday.
Yeah, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, which he was Oscar nominated for.
Sorry, Wako.
What's Love Actually?
It's like a popular British Christmas film about like love and stuff.
It's a romantic comedy from 2003.
Which Hamish's dad
okay, never mind them.
No, it's really good though.
Sure it is.
Yeah, it is. Anyway. So basically then the Doctor and sort of Amy enter the scene. They're walking around the gallery, the gallery, and they're sort of looking at the paintings. Yeah. And then they kind of notice in this church window that there's like a chicken monster thing.
Chicken monster?
Yeah, there's like a chicken monster thing.
It's not really doing it justice, but okay.
Well, the Crefess, I think it's called.
The Crefeus?
The Crefeus.
So we don't find that out until later.
Yeah. And the Doctor sort of goes over and uses his psychic paper and interrupts Bill Nye, who's like the museum tour person, the gallery sort of talk person. And he sort of says, when was this painted?
Curator.
Yeah, the curator. Yeah. He's like, when was this painted? And then he's like, oh, by the way, your bow tie's pretty cool. And the guy's like, oh, yours is cool as well. And they have a bit of a session. And then they're like sort of, oh, we have to go and talk to Vincent van Gogh. And then he goes, boo, 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 boo. And then we do that.
Yes. What do you think of the title sequence, Carl?
I'm not a fan of it, I will be honest. I preferred Classes.
Class. That's going to go down on the internet.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
we're going to cover Class on this podcast.
What's Class?
You know what? I didn't mind Class, but anyway, that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. About this title sequence, I mean, like, I think it looks sort of really kind of quite nice, but like, it doesn't quite have the same. It has sort of a very different feel, which is very. Sorry, Carl, you won't know what like the term I'm about to use is yet, but it has a very kind of Stephen Moffat-y feel to it. The title sequence.
Don't expect me to ever learn any of the directors or anything like that.
Yeah,
by the way,
I won't. But it has a sort of very Stephen Moffat-y feel because like a sort of common sort of like. How many times can Max say like in a sentence? A common motif of Moffat's work is that Murray Gold will sort of put in, which is the composer, he'll sort of put in like vocal. Said it fucking again. He'll put in like vocalization, and sort of this title sequence has a lot of vocalization and that sort of stuff, and then it's sort of like the gods are singing or something.
I'm sorry, I'm not a film nerd. What's vocalization mean?
Sort of like people
just like singing, but like just making noises, not like saying words.
Like
it's like an a cappella.
It's basically a cappella. But I think this arrangement of the theme tune is a bit more like.
It's a bit more chill.
Yeah, it's maybe like I'd say it's maybe a bit more like I don't know, magical-ish, I guess.
Yeah, it feels a bit more like mythological, like I don't know. And then when the whole vortex like bursts into flames.
Yeah, and it's like the whole thing with like the clouds as opposed to a sci-fi thing. Like it's a bit more like fantasy-esque.
Yeah, and the lightning strikes as all the titles come up, and then the TARDIS. I forgot how much I like how like the DW, because this logo is Dr. DW Who.
Yeah.
I forgot how much I like the way that the TARDIS like spins out of the DW.
Yeah.
It's like the graphics in this are like much better than Series 7 or 8's title sequence. Interestingly.
Yeah.
But I really like it.
The Series 7 title sequence is
disgusting. Yeah. I mean I like the theme.
At some point.
I like the theme, but I just feel that this is kind of a bit more. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I associate this title sequence with all of like Matt Smith's best stuff, or I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I'm very nostalgic for this title sequence.
Yeah, I used to sort of.
And this episode.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have. Don't get me wrong. The arrangement of the theme doesn't have anything on the specials title sequence.
Yeah.
Sort of.
That has a lot more energy to it.
Yeah. Something which hasn't really been replicated since, I wouldn't say.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and anyway, let's get back into the episode. So the Doctor and Amy travel back in the TARDIS, and Amy has this kind of booklet with all of his paintings, like a postcard booklet. And they're looking
like
for
a
Vincent.
brochure.
Yeah, and they're looking for Vincent, and they sort of try to find that cafe that he's painted. And she like holds it up, and they find the cafe, and it's like really cool.
Is it? You sure it's a cafe?
It might be a restaurant.
I think it's a cafe. Well, they call it a cafe in the episode anyway.
Yeah, but this is in
translation.
Like, it's different in
French.
French.
Yeah. But and he's like trying to pay with his paintings, and everyone like hates him. And like
reminds me of my life.
Yeah. It's like
except you aren't going to end up to be a genius.
Thanks, Cal.
Yeah, that's nice stuff.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's like, I'll pay for your drink as well if you sit down and talk to us. And Vincent's like, I pay for my own drinks. And everyone just like starts laughing.
Just like, back off.
Yeah, everyone just starts laughing. And then he like sees Amy and he's like, hey. And then and Amy's just like, okay, I'm gonna get some wine and we're gonna sit down and have a chat.
Yeah.
And then they sort of have like a ginger off, where Vincent's like to Amy, oh, your hair is red, and she's like, and he's like, and she's like, yes, and then she leans in and she's like, so is yours, and then Vincent's
the doctor's just like, ah.
yeah, and then Vincent's like, well, it was more red once. And it's like a really weird sort of thing for Amy and Vincent to just sort of, because like 2 episodes before this, Carl, Amy's fiance was killed and erased from time.
1 episode before.
1 episode before, she was like,
oh, is that why he's calls him Rory?
Yeah, because he like tends to say Rory, and then he's like, and Amy's like, who? And he's like, oh, and it's like,
oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, and that's why Vincent
I was just like really confused when that happened.
And that's why Vincent like says to her when they're walking to paint the church, you've lost someone, you're really sad.
Yeah, and she's like, you what, man?
Yeah, and the
doctor's
doctor's like, anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've forgotten how nicely this slots into the like series, like sort of story.
I don't remember that at all when I go back. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what did you think of it up to this point, Carl? Good start.
No, not really. I thought no. This sort of shows perfectly. Gone back in time, gone to a famous person, and up to this point, I hadn't really understood that background, so I was a bit confused, I will admit.
What background? The sort of
like the her fiance, and like asking, "Oh, you're sad." Like,
yeah.
I'm just going, "What? She's a normal person. What do you want about, bro?"
Yeah, and but one thing that I liked is when like Vincent's like, "You're crying," and then I like zoomed in on my TV and no tears at all. So I'm not sure what that was.
Well, actually, if he's depressed, he might have just used up all his tears.
No, I mean Amy.
Well, I mean, Amy's Amy.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Anyway. Let's not get caught up in that.
That was a helpful discussion.
Yeah. And then there's this bit where, like, after they leave the cafe, Vincent's like, oh, so where are you guys staying tonight? And the doctor's like, oh.
Before we get to that, there's like a murder, like right across the room.
There's a murder, which they hear like a scream, and then they like run out, and the woman's like, Vincent, you did this, even though he was sitting in the cafe. Yeah,
she's like, you call this your dog?
Yeah. And then they like and then they throw stones at him, which was a bit depressing.
The thing I really researched is it's accurate, and I find that just bewildering.
That it's accurate.
Yeah. Like, they was just sitting in a cafe. He was sort of he wasn't hated as much as they show it.
Yeah.
But they did blame him for the murder of a kid. And you go, fucking hell, what was it like back then?
Yeah. And then sort of, and after they walk off after Vincent's been had stones thrown at him, Vincent's like, so where are you two staying tonight? And the doctor says, oh, you're so kind. And then Vincent's just like, you what, mate? And and then they sort of go back to his house, and Vincent offers them coffee, and he puts the sort of kettle on the painting, and then the doctor and Amy like freak. They're like, no, don't do that. It's precious. And Vincent's just like looks at them like they're completely batshit crazy. It's good stuff. But,
the time travel thing always throws me off.
The fact that
so there's talk about, oh yes, he's ruining the painting doing that.
That would have already happened even if they weren't there. Yeah, because he's obviously a bit of a pig. Yeah.
Depending on some writers like care about that and some writers don't. I don't think Richard Curtis is a writer that cares about that.
Yeah, he's only ever done one episode of Doctor Who, which surprised me. I mean,
he's probably one of the highest profile writers they've ever done for the show, like with Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. But and as the Doctor is like and Amy are walking back to Vincent van Gogh's sort of house or bungalow, it's a house. The Doctor sort of Vincent's like, I wouldn't stay out here too long, and the Doctor's like, yes, this is a very starry night.
Quick tangent. Did you like the way that Bill Nighy pronounced Vincent van Gogh's last name?
How did he do it?
It's like Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Well, actually, I think that's more accurate to what I've learned. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we can never really know because, like,
well, you can. I mean, it's not like it's a rare name. There are still people with the name Go.
yeah, but
Oh,
Van
wow.
Gogh. Van Gogh or Van Gogh?
I say Van Gogh.
I say Van Gogh.
Or
I say Van Gogh.
Anyway, that doesn't really matter.
Anyway.
I disagree. This is a very important discussion, Max.
Yeah, we should dedicate the next episode to this.
Yeah, we should just talk about Vincent Van Gogh.
How to pronounce his name?
Vincent Van Gogh.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So then basically, the Doctor and Vincent are talking, having a deep moment, and they hear a scream, and Amy's like being attacked by this sort of, well, they don't know what's attacked it, invisible monster. And then they sort of fight it off, and the Doctor pretends he can see it, but Vincent's like the only one who can see it, and the Doctor initially thinks Vincent's like having a fit.
Yeah, and
then we get like a
bitch slaps him.
perspective shot of like the alien just like whipping him. Just gets like flying off. And I did like the metaphor of the alien in this episode, because like, I'm not sure. Yeah, because like, it's the whole invisible alien is sort of like the invisible illness, which is like depression and mental health.
Yeah.
I thought that was
I wasn't the
cool.
biggest fan of how they did that, actually, though. Like,
Yeah.
mental illness isn't... it is a massive problem, but the fact they've tried to personify it, and then making his mental illness be able to mean he can see it.
Well, I don't think that's necessarily his
Makes it
mental illness. I think that's just a thing he has because he sees colours in a different way within the context of the episode, and like the mental illness is still very much there. It's just sort of another reference to it rather than trying to personify it. That's how I interpreted it anyway. But
You might be right.
yeah, I don't know. It's a bit subjective.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then sort of the Doctor goes back to the TARDIS to get this kind of... He gets this device that his two-headed godmother gave him with bad breath.
Yeah.
And when he plugs it in, and it initially like... Because it's one of those things where he like pointed at something and it knows what the something is. So he points it at himself,
Yeah.
and William Hartnell comes out, like the first Doctor comes out.
Yeah, and Patrick Troughton.
Yeah. Was that a bit... Did you know who that was, Carl?
Oh, God, no. I don't know who anyone is.
Well,
in
that's the
this
first Doctor. Well, that's the show's first Doctor, thanks to the last series.
Still the first Doctor?
Well, no.
Yes.
No.
I have no clue what you guys are on about.
You'll find,
Anyway,
you'll find
we'll
out.
get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Will we, though?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, but before he goes to do that, he does this really, like, sort of weird thing where he's like, Amy, make Mr. Van Gogh comfortable. Thought it was a strange comment. And then he's like,
Yeah, I was like, where's this going?
Yeah. And then he's like, I'll be back before you can say, where's he got to now? And then he like walks out, and then he turns around the corner, he's like, but not that fast! And he was like, yeah, went pretty fast.
It's like something that I would do.
Yeah, so something I definitely do. If I was like babysitting a kid, I'll be like, I'm going to the toilet, I'll be back before you can say, where the fuck's this dog? But not that fast! And I'd like crawl in, spring up on his bed. Anyway.
Well, enough about Max's fantasy.
This is a great podcast. So yeah, and then he sort of finds this gadget that sort of he shows because Van Gogh painted like a portrait of this thing.
Yeah.
Carl, being our resident kind of art knowledgeable person, sort of more so than
Is he?
Hamish or I. Well, he knows
I
art
am.
more than us.
Oh, that's fair enough.
Yeah, he knows Van Gogh more than us at least.
Yes.
Yeah, you know the sketch that this Van Gogh did of the monster.
Yeah.
Did that look like a Van Gogh to you?
Okay. It follows it's the same art movement as his, same art style. But the thing is, it's 100% not something he would sketch.
Well, no, because there wasn't an invisible monster.
No, but he would never sketch that. He would sketch it in like... he would sketch it in the background of something.
Yeah, but this was
Like
like,
that-
in the context that they need to show the Doctor what it looked like because he couldn't see it though. If it was in that context, do you think it would have looked like that? Maybe.
Yes. Yes, it would have.
Yeah. What sort of got me is because we're all three of us sort of are quite into visual arts, is that he paints over it, and then he immediately draws on it with charcoal. Like that would have smudged the paint.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Also, he paints over like a famous painting as well.
Yeah. It's probably one of those cases where like the artist like took the layers off the painting.
Actually, no, that's a really common thing. Because back then, they like canvases were expensive.
Yeah,
so if unless they thought it was 100%, they just paint over it.
And Van Gogh's brother kind of paid for his paints, didn't he?
His brother was his biggest buyer. Yes.
No,
he made a few people bought his artworks, but very few.
I think in the episode they said that, I'm not sure if this is historically accurate. You'll have to let us know, Carl. But in the episode they said the only painting he ever sold was to a sister of a friend. So.
I'm not 100% caught up on that. He was not. He
wasn't popular at the time.
He was not popular, no.
Yeah, but what always strikes me about Van Gogh is that he painted all these things in Provence, and then somehow they found their way to the world. Like, if he was hated so much, surely they would have just been sealed up in someone's attic. But no, they spread themselves.
Well, they kind of were.
Yeah, but like, why are they so acclaimed now? Like, he was just sort of left there.
Because they were really praised.
Yeah. Well, there was wars after him. Arts movements came and passed. The Cubist movement.
I like that movement.
Was massive.
Yeah.
That sort of made his artworks at a whole be viewed differently.
With George Braque and Picasso.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing a bit of...
just flexing your knowledge.
Yeah, and then that was, of course, later adopted by Piet Mondrian, who went on to develop that further into neoplasticism.
As you can tell, we've had to do an assignment on on Mondrian.
Yeah. Yeah, and the doctor is getting the sort of side mirror of a car, which is what the device is like. I like the way that device is designed as well. It looks very kind of hobbled together space junk.
Yeah, it's kind of like his TARDIS as well. It's like a lot of it together.
Yeah, Carl, what did you think of the inside of this TARDIS?
It's the background.
What?
This is what you overdo every single part of the show.
Just answer the fucking question.
I'm not going to disagree, Carl, but just answer the bloody question.
It was good. I still dislike how useless the control panel is.
Do you like how it made mustard and ketchup? And played
it is impossible. It is impossible for that thing to be able to work properly.
It's also impossible for it to travel in time and space, Carl, but it still does it.
Yes, it does matter.
I've been inside that room.
No one commented on this.
What? It's pretty cool. Because I'm pretty cool, you said. Anyway. Yeah, I thought that the effects on the monster were a bit dodge.
Yeah.
They looked kind of quite plastic. Well, not plastic, they just looked like... It was one of those classic scenarios where, like, your actual picture, like, your real footage is rendered at, is, like, HD, but then the CGI is 720p. It felt weird. Yeah.
I think often when there's a monster or a CGI monster in a CGI monster, because they spent the money on the sets and costumes.
Yeah. But they did use good negative space, I thought.
Yeah.
Shut up, Jesus Christ, about this.
This was all thought about. This wasn't coincidental. We have to... This is how it works.
So he's painted one. We've already just got to the bit where he painted the monster.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But
we're not finishing this today, are we?
Oh yeah.
Also, there's that jump scare where Amy comes around.
Yeah, around the corner.
Yeah.
She's like, and she's like, oh, and the doctor's like, oh, never do that again, you dog.
Yeah. When I was a kid watching that scared the shit out of me.
Well, I've got as a note, Amy scares the shit out of Doctor. Yeah. But then, yeah. Yeah, where do we go next? Then we go back to Van Gogh's house.
Yeah.
And I think we time jump to the morning, don't we? And Van Gogh wakes up and there's sunflowers everywhere. And then they're getting ready to go paint the church. And then the doctor mentions space and the universe, and Van Gogh just doesn't bat an eyelid. And he mentions time travel, and Van Gogh's just like, well, okay then.
Yeah.
And then he
I mean, when you're worrying about how to put food in your mouth, you don't really care about time travel at that point.
I mean, probably not, no. But, yeah. But, the doctor mentions, like, leaving Van Gogh, and Van Gogh goes kind of all quiet. And then he sort of... Then the doctor's like, what's he doing? Where's he got to? And he goes into, like, his bed, which looked like it was pretty well recreated from that famous painting of his bed. Which was quite cool. I mean, yeah. And then sort of Vincent Van Gogh's like crying, and like the doctor tries to calm him down, and he's like, "Get out! You can't help. My brother's already sent too many doctors."
Yeah.
What did you think of that bit, Carl, when Van Gogh was crying?
Oh, I loved it. I loved the already sent me enough doctors bit. That was great.
Yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, it's a good performance from Tony Curran, who plays the Van Gogh in this episode.
In my opinion, this is probably the best guest performance ever on Doctor Who.
You reckon?
Yeah, I think so. I was trying to think of someone who I thought was better, and I couldn't think.
What about bloody what's his name? I can't remember her name, but the woman who played Rosa Parks, who was in Sherlock.
Wait.
I was not a fan of her, I'll be honest.
Oh, in Rosa?
Yeah.
Nah, she's not better then.
Well, no, she's not better, but she's good still.
Yeah, she's not better.
Yeah, fair enough. That went it's a bloody roller coaster. I'm just getting up my notes. Yeah, and then the doctor goes out. Yeah, then the doctor sort of goes out, and he's like to Amy, "Okay, we're leaving. Van Gogh's going to kill himself," and Amy gets really sad. And then they're sort of in his house about to leave, and you just see like this Indiana Jones style shadow of his hat.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Let's paint." And so they go and paint, and the doctor tries to like talk to him about depression, and Vincent's like, "Shh," which kind of.
Oh yeah. Also, but before that, as they're walking to the church, the funeral goes past, and there's like sunflowers on top of the coffin.
I'm a sunflower.
I am wildered by you two.
I thought you were going to say that I'm not a sunflower, Carl.
Yeah, and the doctor's like, you sort of see a bit of the doctor being impatient, which is another thing that's brought up in the Power of Three, which I was surprised that they kind of remembered. While he's watching Van Gogh paint, and he says something along the lines of, I remember watching Michelangelo paint. I said to him, if you were afraid of heights, you shouldn't have taken the job. And the Sistine Chapel, which I thought was a cool little comment, and it always just like bewilders me. It always just bewilders me how bloody he'll say these things, and the people will be like, "Oh, yeah, sure." Just won't say anything. Yeah, what did you think of that, Carl?
I thought it was a bit
obnoxious.
No, I would say it's set in character. It was entertaining to listen to, and the bit about
Picasso being a silly old goat. Oh.
Yeah. No, I like the art.
Yeah, it's like, remember, there's an eye on either side of the face.
Yeah. And then the sort of. Yeah, and then Vincent like sees the creature in the window, which is of course where the painting had him in the originally. Yeah. And the doctor was like, "Don't follow me under any circumstances," and then he like runs off. And then I think at this point in the show, they've kind of realized that that's such an overused trope. Don't follow me, because the doctor always says, "Don't follow me," and then they always follow him. And Vincent's like, "Will you follow him?" And Amy's like, "Of course." And then she like runs after him, and the Sonic's not overused in this episode, which is good. Yeah. It's like, I feel like if the current showrunner wrote this episode, they'd find the Crefest and the Doctor would Sonic it, and it would like combust.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then and then when Amy followed him in, they were hiding in the confession booth. And the Doctor's like, "Can you breathe a little quieter, please?" And Amy's like, "No." And then Vincent Van Gogh comes in with the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the doctor like comes out of the booth and is like sonicking the thing, and he sort of realizes, "Yeah, I'm not useful at all," and he like runs off.
Yeah.
So,
and there's that bit where he's like sonicking the creature, and he's like, "Oh yeah, is that doing anything?" And Vincent's like, "No, I think he's enjoying it."
Yeah.
So I was like, "You what?"
But I didn't realize until like sort of a little bit in that Van Gogh has like a Scottish or Irish accent. Which I mean, because like, yeah, I didn't realize that until like he said in his thick Scottish accent, "Come here, laddie." So, yeah, and I thought it was.
Carl, what did you think of his accent?
I'm not sure how accurate it is.
Well, yeah.
That's my main thing.
I mean,
but
I think
I can deal with I can deal with Scottish accents quite easily. I like it.
I thought that it was like for a British interpretation of the show, it was kind of the best they could do in finding like a Dutch sort of accent that wouldn't feel too out of place, or like a Dutch French accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking it up, Tony. How do you pronounce his last name?
Oh, Curran.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, Tony Curran. He's Scottish. Yeah.
Scottish, yeah.
Yeah. Also, he was in Pearl Harbor.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, it's unfortunate.
But anyway.
We'll get past that.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was quite fitting for an art-themed episode of Doctor Who that the monster was killed by an art easel because he like stabbed him with it. And then it was like one of those really depressing monster deaths where the monster says, "I am afraid," and the Doctor like translates him.
Yeah.
And one thing that I liked really about sort of that scene when the monster dies is that you could just like look over the Doctor's face and you can tell how angry he is at the human race. I mean, it's not really brought to the front, but he just looks so bloody angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of the death of the Crefess Cull?
I mean, of course, I sort of go, it was should be pacifist and all. Yeah.
Yeah.
It still has less of an effect because you sort of know it's invisible.
Yeah. I liked Matt Smith's acting where his hand was just hovering and he was like moving it back and forward, pretending to pat the...
Yeah, I
wasn't sure what that sentence was going for a second there.
That would have been so hard to do well.
Yeah, I know, because like if you just fall a centimeter, it ruins the illusion. So you have to stay at the level, and of course, when you have to stay still, you like shake really a lot.
Yeah.
Probably just got really drunk.
You know.
Yeah.
No, but like that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, and then after they immediately cut to them all like lying on the floor. And they have this really awesome moment where they like all join hands and they look up in the sky and the sky is like slowly transformed into the Starry Night painting.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I thought you might like that bit, Carl.
I did. I of all the shots, I don't notice cinematography most of the time. That was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think they might spend all of their visual effects budget on that.
Yeah, because it is a cool idea for a shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how when Vincent and the Doctor are about to depart ways before they go to the gallery because the Doctor hasn't had that idea yet. Vincent says to Amy, "If you tire of this doctor of yours, return and we will have children by the dozen." And I was like, this guy's a bit forward.
That's just because you wish you had that confidence.
No, I don't. I do have that confidence.
Anyway.
Wonder why I got dumped.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Fair point.
Yeah, and the Doctor sort of hugs Vincent and he sort of looks really sad. Then the Doctor's like, "Actually, hold on, Vincent, clean yourself up, we want to show you something." And then Vincent has this really sort of well executed, no dialogue, sort of it's bigger on the inside moment. He like walks in and there's like some sort of montage of him just like walking around the TARDIS. And then by the end, Amy and the Doctor just sort of standing there like, phew. And yeah.
Yeah. I will say I'd seen a clip of the Vincent Van Gogh at the end.
Yeah. It's like the most popular clip on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a good clip. Like the song was good by Athlete. I don't remember what the song's actually called, but it's a song.
Yeah. Did you cry, Max?
A little bit. And so
why?
Because it's sad.
How?
The music.
Like, and what's happening is not just the song that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The music really brings it all home, which is like one of the only 2 times that having a song in Doctor Who's actually worked. It's like not a soundtrack song. This and Rosa.
Yes. Oh yeah. And let's not forget bloody Mr. Blue Sky and Love and Monsters.
That didn't work.
We'll get that.
That's the last episode that Carl watched, probably, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Love and Monsters, the last episode.
I promise. Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
probably.
But yeah, and then sort of the Doctor says to this Bill Nye guy, "Oh, where do you think Van Gogh stands in the history of art?" And then Vincent starts like crying, and it's like really emotional, and he's like, "Oh, I think he's the best popular artist ever." And then Vincent's like, "Oh, thanks," and he kisses him, and then he's like, "Sorry about the beard."
Yeah.
Sorry about the beard. Do you think like there was a beard thing back then where they like didn't like beards?
I do not think back then. I think hair was more normal than anything.
Yeah. Did Vincent have a beard?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
You can see his
self-portrait.
Yeah, you can see his self-portrait. The actor is perfect for it.
Yeah. And there was a really nice shot where we were focusing on like the Vincent van Gogh This Way sort of sign exhibition, and it was him. And then the Vincent van Gogh, the character sort of walks in front of it, and it does like a deep focus pull.
Yeah. Also, in the bit where Vincent's like in the foreground and then like Bill Nye and the Doctor in the background.
Yeah.
Were they like on a rotating thing? Because like the camera's like spinning around them, but they weren't moving. So it leads me to believe that they were the ones that were moving and the camera wasn't moving.
Maybe, I don't know. I didn't notice that. But yeah. Did you
not
like
a good enough cinematographer?
Did you notice Did you like the gallery scene, Carl?
The gallery, yes, I did. Of course, I did.
That's like the best
I'd have to be a
moment
monster
from
to say no.
Yeah, that's like the best moment from season 5, maybe, or if not, one of them.
Series 5?
Yeah, series 5. Sorry.
Not season 5.
Just a quick memo, Carl. Doctor Who fans will get really prickly because, like modern series, like the new sort of series of Doctor Who, the series, like each series is referred to series something, but if it's like the old series, it's referred to as season something. And Doctor Who fans get really prickly about that.
And I'm assuming you are one of those fans?
I mean, it's not the worst thing, but like, it just makes things a bit
Sometimes
clearer.
I just simplify things and just like call them all seasons and just carry on the classic number.
Yeah, like we're in modern Who, we're up to season 38.
Yeah.
If we count all of them, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. You can just,
I mean, it probably isn't going to apply to me.
No, probably not. Yeah, and then Bill Nye, like, as Vincent and the Doctor leave, Bill Nye does like a double take, and he's like, nah.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of the whole... My favourite thing about this episode is there's like, no matter what the Doctor and Amy do, Vincent still dies, which is quite emotionally powerful, that he's still going to die no matter what happens.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
Vincent,
I mean...
Yeah.
If anything, I thought the reason them showing him the future would cause him to die.
Why?
Why?
I thought it was the reason they were going to say he died was because...
Of the monster.
No, because of him seeing the future.
How though?
The one.
Like, sort of... Imagine how broken your reality must feel seeing the future, thinking about how pointless it is.
Yeah, but it's like a sort of thing, like the way I interpret it is sort of them taking him to the future in their eyes was supposed to act as like a, keep going, it's going to be worth it sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then he went
like
back.
Like his purpose?
Yeah, and then he sort of went back and he still killed himself. Which was kind of quite sad, I thought, but I don't know.
I mean, realistic.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really sort of say Van Gogh didn't die in...
Well, the thing is, do you know the real... We don't actually know how he died.
He killed himself.
Yeah, but we don't know why. There was a boy was killed in a field. He was blamed, caused a traumatic emotional toll on him, and it was a big thing. It's one of the unsolved mysteries that still goes on today.
Well, I'm glad they didn't bring that up in the episode, because that would have been a real buzzkill.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this isn't actually the last time we see Van Gogh. This isn't actually... Wait, what, Carl? What, Hamish?
Oh, he had a strange way of killing himself.
Yeah, what did he do?
Yeah, I shot himself in the chest.
Oh.
It's a bit dodgy.
I think someone else probably shot him.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. He got shot and was still alive and refused to tell anyone who killed him or who shot him.
Yeah.
And he said, I shot myself, even though he 100% didn't.
Well,
yeah, that's a bit dodgy.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. But this isn't actually the last time that Vincent Van Gogh appears in Doctor Who. He appears later in season 5, series 5. Nora, season 31, which we might which we might get to, but we might not. But we'll have to see how this goes. But yeah, he plays a pretty important part in the finale. But like,
he does.
Well, by default, it's not really like he doesn't actually show up. He doesn't come with the Doctor. He doesn't meet the Doctor again. But it's just sort of a thing, isn't it, Hamish? The famous Doctor Who fan art painting that worked its way into the finale.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like the sort of loophole of there's no monster in the church window now, and there never was, but that's only because the Doctor went back and fixed it and is real.
Yeah.
So, Carl, would you like to give us your conclusion, or would you like to round it off?
It was...
Oh, wait, we forgot to mention also that, like, when they go to the sunflower painting, there's also...
Oh, yeah, it says Amy's name on the sunflower vase, which doesn't actually say that in real life, obviously. But,
really?
Yeah, but I don't know. I just thought it was a nice little addition. What did you think about that, Carl?
I think the Amy vase thing was complete bullshit. Up to that point, everything had technically, in the present time, been accurate to some extent.
Yeah.
And then they stuffed that up by going, oh yes, he names it after a character. Like, oh my god, you stuffed it up.
Yeah. I think it's a nice sentiment, even if it doesn't make total sense in the reality of the world, but it's not real, it's Doctor Who, so like, but still, yeah, I get the point.
Then also, there's the problem of they tried to address mental illness and failed poorly.
As opposed to failed well?
What?
Yeah, true.
I thought...
They failed.
I think they sort of... Like, I think the current Doctor Who, with this episode, if they had to write it again, I think that they'd just have the Doctor turn to camera and say, mental illness is a very big problem. 100,000 people a year die from mental... That sort of thing. Like they did in Orphan 55, which is another pleasure that you'll be experiencing, Carl. If this thing goes far. But, yeah, I just feel like they sort of... By, like, when the Doctor sort of went to say to Van Gogh, oh, depression is a very real thing, and then he sort of shushed him. I thought that was kind of the writer saying, yeah, no, we're not going to talk about that.
Well, the episode is talking about it in subtext, but it's not like...
Yeah,
unlike in a Jubilee episode, it's not letting it become the text.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, we'll get to Orphan 55 and Praxius.
Yay.
Yeah, anyway, I'll let you continue your conclusion, Carl.
I liked it. It's not going to make me go and watch it again. It's not going to make me go watch Doctor Who's. Like,
for fun.
Yeah. You're probably going to have to keep forcing me to watch the series. Just
for some context, I've given him a cardboard box, a Blu-ray player, and like an old VHS monitor, so he's just been watching it there. In the corner of the room during the quarantine. He hasn't been allowed out, he's just sort of folded across himself.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. I've got his, never mind. But, yeah.
He's holding my family hostage.
Just your sister, Carl.
Oh, okay, never mind, I don't care about her.
Anyway. Anyway. Yeah, so, anything else to say, Carl? What would you give it out of 10? As a Doctor Who episode.
It's the best Doctor Who episode I've watched.
Okay, so it's number 1 currently. Because we're going to have like a ranking.
Yes,
so,
number 1.
Yeah. Hamish, do you want to include Big Finish in our ranking, or would that be a bit...
I feel like that would be weird, because Carl won't...
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Hamish, do you want to have a little conclusion moment?
Alright, so I'm quite nostalgic for this episode, so it may colour my opinions of it slightly, but I think that this is a fantastic episode. I think it's a very subtle and accurate depiction of mental health and depression. And I also think that It's a very well acted and well written, surprisingly, given it's written by Richard Curtis.
What do you mean? Richard Curtis is a very good screenwriter.
Is he there? Anyway.
This is one good idea.
Yeah, yeah, but just good performances all around. Particularly Tony Curran. It was the monster was a nice metaphor, and this is one of my favorite episodes and one of my favorite seasons of Doctor Who.
Very well put. Out of 10.
Out of 10, I would give it. Don't kill me, Carl. A 10.
What the fuck? You
well,
that's pretty much just exactly what I said.
That's what I expected.
But the opposite.
Yeah, I thought you might give it a 10. Okay, but I'll do my...
Yeah.
Me?
I won't give many 10s out, so, like, given the episodes that we have coming out, so just,
anyway.
This is a good start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so basically, I thought it was a really good episode of Doctor Who. Perhaps my favorite historical episode that the show's done.
Yeah.
Not my favorite episode set in history, but my favorite episode with a historical figure. I thought it was pretty well acted. I thought Matt Smith was on fine form. Amy was sort of pretty good as well, but not outstanding. I thought the script was pretty sharp and the direction was very, very good for Doctor Who. Or just very, very good in general. It's not like Doctor Who's shitter than everything else. Yeah. I just thought it was really good. It's by no means my favorite episode, but it's definitely it's in my top 12 and a half.
12?
No, let's just say 12. Maybe my top 10. I don't know. I'd probably give this a... I might give this 8.75.
That's very specific.
8 3/4 out of 10. So, yeah, I don't think it's it's not my favorite episode, in my mind, sort of comparing this to, Stephen Moffat's masterpieces that he's written, some of his masterpiece episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think it really has the same
Are these people real?
Yeah, Stephen Moffat was the guy who controls Doctor Who from, 2010 all the way to 2017, and he wrote some really good stuff, but also some really shit stuff. So, yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, I just thought it was a really good episode. But yeah, so any other comments, guys?
I'm gonna continue the series because it wasn't trash.
Cool. Now I'll just find the algorithm for finding us our next episode. I've got a list and I pick a random number out of 10.
Yes. Maybe we should get Carl to pick the number.
Carl, would you like to pick a number?
From what to what?
1 to 46.
46.
46.
I'll go with. Damn it! Nothing. 40. Dance to the life, the universe, and everything.
42.
Yeah.
We have got
The Series 11 episode Kablam.
Yeah, well, next week, this time with
Kablam.
See ya.